Hi, it's Dot from dotstrot.com, and this morning I'm going to be doing a little bit of food prep. It's one of the best ways that certainly has worked for me in saving me time in the kitchen, but also keeping me on track to making sure I'm eating real, delicious, healthy foods. And I do food prep a couple of different ways. I base it off of what my schedule is for the week. So if I know I'm going to be really, really super hectic, something every single day, I'm going to be just busy out of the house or running errands, whatever it may be. What I'll do then is I'll do a couple of meals for the week. I'll chop up a lot of all of my veggies, which are my carbs, for the week, and prepare things so that I can just grab things out of the fridge. I can whip things together really quickly, or just heat things up because dishes are already made. And it just makes it so easy. It just simplifies your life. If you take a couple hours on, after you go grocery shopping, just reserve a little bit of time so you can prep your food. The other thing I like to do is I plan meals for the week. So I do a weekly menu, and I'll have a link below to give you an idea of what I mean by that, sort of a sample of my weekly menus I have on my blog for people to take a look at. But it just gives me a direction, so I know when I do a menu that instantly generates a grocery list for me. I go out shopping, I buy only the ingredients for what I'm going to be making for the week, and that's what I'm going to be eating. What I'm going to be making this week is going to be an egg and sausage bake. I'm making a shepherd's pie, and I'm also making a chili dish. So, and also some meatballs and sauce. So what I'm going to do is a few of those meals I'm going to prep ahead of time. The shepherd's pie I'm going to make fresh on Thursday because I have all day. It's easy for me. My time is sort of opened up. But what I'm going to do right now is just give you an idea of how I do food prep, how I store things, types of equipment I use to store things that make it so much easier. And we'll go from there. I'm going to start right now with how I store lettuce. All right, I'm going to show you how I store my greens. I use these every week to make salads, and I like to wash them once I get my greens at home. I chop them up, wash them, clean them, chop them, and then dry them off, and then I'll store them in the fridge. And the best way to store them so that they keep is have a container and use paper towels. And what I do is the paper towels takes out the moisture because that's what makes them wilt and go bad. And actually, this is very, very dry. If you notice, I did wash it. This is spinach, but what I did is I had it stored in the fridge yesterday. I cleaned and washed it yesterday, and did my little paper towel technique, and I just undid everything just to show you how I do this. So what you do, as you can see, it's pretty dry because the paper towels did their job. They sucked out the moisture. So I just take a couple of handfuls, and I just spread it out, and then I'll add another paper towel on top. The paper towel just, again, takes out all the moisture, so it keeps your spinach or any greens that you have fresh, which is what you want. And it usually lasts in the fridge for about a week. They don't last that long in my fridge, I will say that, because we definitely go through them. So it's almost, someone had mentioned to me, I'd seen this before, and someone had called it their lasagna technique, so which is sort of layering it like a lasagna. And you just sort of put them in, and then I'm going to cover it. I had a light go out. Oh, it's back on. And the nice thing about this, when you're making salads and let's say you get up in the morning, you're really rushed for time, you're trying to get out the door to go to work, you can actually take a salad with you. All you do is reach in, and 2 fistfuls equals about 2 cups worth of greens. So you just sort of grab 2 fistfuls and throw them in a Tupperware container or some type of plastic container that's sealable, and throw in a lot of other veggies that you may have chopped up that you want on top. Have your dressing already prepared and ready to go in a little container, and you're all set. So it doesn't really take much. So what I'm going to do is top this off, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my little lid on. Woo! And there we go. Sealed. Now it's ready to go in the fridge. You can see the different layers in there. And like I said, this will keep for I've already had it in the fridge for a day, so probably about another 6 days for me. But my guess is this will be gone within 3. All right, some of the tools that I use when I'm doing my food prep, obviously a cutting board. You can't go wrong there. I try to do this with my cutting board is I have one for meats and one for vegetables. I'm not always good at keeping them straight sometimes, but my white one is usually the one I use for vegetables. If I make a mistake and use meat, it's usually because the meat is already cooked. But raw meats I don't put on this puppy, or I try not to. You want knives. I use a small little paring knife and a chef's knife. You want to keep them sharp, because if they're not sharp and they get dull, that's when you can cut yourself and get hurt, because the knife will just slip off the food, and that's not great. The other thing I started doing was I use one of my little bowls that I have, and I've already started cutting up a few things, or cleaning when I was cleaning my spring onions and my celery, is I use this little bowl to basically put my trash. So if you have a garden and you do compost, this is one way of getting some, compost that you can use to help your garden out. But it saves me time from just running around constantly to the trash, or constantly going over to the trash to throw things out. I just put things in here, and when it fills up, I throw it out. Unfortunately, I don't have a garden, so I can't do composting. Wish I could one day. The other thing you want is storage. That's really important. I'm switching over my Tupperware or my storage containers. My old ones are not really working for me anymore. They're breaking a little bit or getting cracked. So I'm actually switched over to Rubbermaid, and this is their stackable line, basically. And what I love about it is it stacks so much easier than anything I've had. And the lids stack and they attach right to it, which is great. And they have a couple of different sizes. I don't have that many yet. I'm actually building up my new Rubbermaid storage. But what's really good is you want storage that you can actually see through. I don't use these in the microwave at all, because that preserves them a lot longer, even though they are microwavable. But you can see through them, so you know what's in there. So when you've got everything stacked in the kitchen, in your fridge, you know what you're grabbing. You have an idea if it's tomatoes, onions, green peppers, celery, whatever it may be. So you definitely want some storage, and you want something that's see-through. So that's really important. And from there, I'm going to start going ahead and start on chopping up some of my veggies here. All right, forgive the tears. I've been chopping onions, but a little thing that I like to do is I like to use red onions for my salad. So I like the rings, and I store them separately. But sometimes when you're chopping your onion, especially at when you first start chopping it, you get rings like this, and they're not really. You can use them in a salad, obviously. There's not a big deal. What I like to do is I'll use the rings, and I'll put them aside for salads. And then I always use diced red onion. And this way, I just go ahead and start, chopping it to dice it up. And you probably can't see that. You can see this better. But the idea is that the little rings that, you really aren't as, I guess you can say, attractive to use like these are. You can just use these as diced, and I just keep them separated. If you put them together, you can, but grabbing it really quickly and just going, or dipping in a teaspoon or a tablespoon makes it a little bit, convenient when it's more like this. So, little tip that I do to make it, again, fast and easy. All right, I'm about 25 minutes into the chopping fest, and I just finished up all my mushrooms, about 12 ounces of mushrooms. Now, when storing mushrooms, these little guys, unfortunately, aren't very hardy. Your best bet is to leave them in the container that they came in from the grocery store. But I'm going to be chopping these up and using them. Most of them I'm using in a casserole dish today that I'm making. The rest I'm going to be using raw in salads, just grabbing out what I need and tossing them into a salad. So to preserve those so they don't get all slimy and funky, you don't put your lid on top of the container. They need some oxygen. They need to breathe. So what I'm going to do is just cover them in plastic wrap. Just like that. Just cover them up. And then I'm going to poke some holes in here. Just like they come in the grocery store. If you notice, your grocery store packaging will have some holes in there. And this will let these guys breathe, and they'll stay in the fridge, and they won't get all nasty on you. So that's how you go ahead and preserve your mushrooms after you've chopped them up. One of the snacks we use during the week, if we get a little hungry, and I certainly pack this in my husband's lunch bag for when he's going off to work, is 2 celery stalks with either an ounce of cream cheese or maybe even 2 ounces of just regular cheese. It's a nice little snack. But how do you what's the best way to store celery stalks after you've snipped them and washed them? Well, you definitely want to trim off the edges to keep them firm. Now, celery, can stay for quite a while firm in your fridge if you do it this way. This is the way I find best. I wrap them in a dry paper towel, and then I just store them in a Ziploc bag. I bring out the air, squish it out, store, and they'll still be crunchy within a few weeks. These will be gone, as I said. These are basically 2 snacks, so these will be gone fairly quickly this week. But it's a great way if you love celery and you want to just stock up and save it. You don't want to go wilty on it. It's a really good way to preserve it. All right, I've got the bulk of my veggies chopped, and they're in these little handy containers. And again, why I love the stackable containers. They stack like this. What I'm going to do is get these items in the fridge, and then I'm going to dump out my little trash bucket. As you can see, it's quite filled. With these items over here, avocado, I got 2 tomatoes, plum tomatoes, a red pepper, and 3 poblano peppers, and some cilantro. What I'm going to do is I'm making some guacamole today, as well as I'm using the peppers in a casserole that I'm using, but I have to char the vegetables. So that's going to be a little bit different. You'll see what that looks like in a different video. For the guacamole, again, that'll be in a different video too, but I like to make, when I'm chopping up all my vegetables, those type of things I like to save to the end. I like to do it with the actual dish. It just makes it easier, and it can go straight in because I'm already sort of cooking the veggies for the dish to begin with. As for the cilantro, I just thought I probably need to do a little video on how to preserve herbs that you get from the grocery store, because you get them in big bunches, and I hate that because if my recipe only calls for, maybe a 1/4 cup or a 1/2 cup, you never use all of it. So, I started looking at how you store them. What I found is you trim off the ends, at least this is just for the cilantro, and you trim the ends off. And then what you do is you just put the plastic bag that I get at the grocery store, I just cover it, and then I put it in the refrigerator. Always keep your herbs in the door of the refrigerator because it's the least cool place in the fridge. And cold really hurts, actually. Too much cold hurts your herbs, your fresh herbs. So I just cover it in a plastic bag, and I let it sit there, and I take off what I need. And this has actually been in there for a week. It's getting ready to turn. It's not quite, I'm seeing more and more pieces that are a little bit wilted, but I'm going to use the bulk of this for the cilantro and for my chili today. So it was perfect. So I bought this last week. I used it for a couple of dishes, but not a whole lot. But I was able to preserve it for this week and not have to worry about and spending more money on herbs. So that's just a little tip. I'm going to go ahead and get this in the fridge, and I'll let you see what it looks like in my fridge. All right, as you see, I've got my little containers in my refrigerator, and what I like about it, again, why it's important to have a clear containers, is that I can actually see everything that's in there. So here I know I got my tomatoes, I got some diced up onions, I got diced up red and green peppers, garlic, jalapenos. Behind that, I've got my green onions, spring onions, and also some red onions, cauliflower, mushrooms, and celery, and my sliced red onions, and also tomato. And there is, can't see the lettuce, but I know the lettuce is in there because I can see the paper towels. So it's all within eyesight. I can grab it, pull out what I need, and then make whatever dish I need to make, or throw it in a container if I'm making a salad, whatever I'm doing. It just makes it a lot easier to organize my food. So right now, what I'm going to start doing, as you can see down there, that's the next step, is the meat. Yay. Yes, I do prep meat. But those are actually going to be for actual dishes, which we'll make videos about specifically. But for now, that gives you just sort of a little sampling of how you can go ahead and do some, easy food shopping. I think the total time for this for me was about 30-40 minutes total between cleaning, washing, and then dicing and storing. You get faster as you go, and you'll organize yourself a little bit better. But start small. If you only want to prep for one dish for the week, go ahead and do that, and get the concept nailed down for the best way to go about doing it. And as you go, you'll find that I can do a lot more, and I can do it a lot faster. So a little planning goes a long way. Now, if you like the videos that you see, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. And again, comment, if you have different ways of that you do food prep, or, best ways to store foods, go ahead and share it down in the comment section. I really would be interested to see what other people, do as far as making sure their veggies don't go bad when they're storing them in the fridge. Because, the worst thing in the world is for food to go to waste. And until next time, I'll see you later.